Deadpool and Wolverine are in a bit of a awkward spot. Because now that we've gotten some trailers and a better look at what's to come in Deadpool 3, we can say, for the most part, Deadpool and Wolverine seem to have a lot of good things going for it. Especially that the team behind it seem to be capable and passionate, bringing back some of the same accomplished writers from previous Deadpools. Plus, Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy appear to have a lot of creative control here, with Ryan Reynolds getting credits as an actor, a writer, and a producer, and Sean Levy being a writer, director, and producer on the movie. It seems like we'll get a lot of good performances. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have a lot of good chemistry with one another. And both of those dear men have a huge investment in those characters, as both have already left a pretty ginormous legacy for them. Plus, the action in the trailer seems pretty sharp. The tone seems pretty balanced between a soulful drama and an irrelevant comedy.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Yes, but I can't.
And if you noticed that it seems like I qualified most of my statements here with the word seems, well, that is because there is still the sorry little fact that Deadpool and Wolverine is still connected to and following the destruction of, let's see, Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Onion Rings, The Eternals, Cure Insomnia, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Murdering All Your Favorite Heroes, Thor Love and Flubber, Wakanda, Forever on the Toilet, Ant-Man, and the Wasp, and the Quantumania, and the villain gets defeated by communist ants, and the Marvels, which I could never forget, which all released and then promptly mutilated 20 years of MCU story continuity and turned all of their legacy heroes into just a bunch of frauds.
I hurt myself today.
Which puts us in such a bleak rut that we now have to look to the raunchy parody to get some sort of semblance of a sincere, heartfelt story. And as Deadpool and Wolverine is connected to all of those movies that were listed earlier, nothing reminded me more of that than seeing the presence of the TVA in both Deadpool 3 trailers. The TVA being the Time Variance Authority, that are basically the time police, the time cops that execute anyone who messes with time. Were introduced in Loki Season 1. And with that being said, I can almost hear you thinking or screaming that, well, is it not a good thing that Deadpool and Wolverine is connected to the MCU? Isn't that the whole point of the MCU? That every story is meaningfully connected? And dear viewer, when you frame it that way, you are indeed correct. Because one storytelling gimmick that made the MCU beautiful to begin with was introducing this mode of interconnected narratives when, a movie releases and it impacts what happens in the world and the plot of the next movie, or a TV show over here has an effect on an MCU project over there. And we then can all sit and watch the credits waiting to get a hint of what's happening next. Which is all in good fun and in good form, when and only when it is helmed by talented writers. Like we see in Civil War as a pretty good example. The Sokovia Accords were introduced that outlawed vigilantes. And that was the result of the buildup of collateral from all the previous movies, causing Tony to side with the government because he recognized how bad he messed up in Age of Ultron, and Cap resisting the government because he saw how badly the government, messed up in Winter Soldier, which all resulted in the Avengers splitting up and making it so nice and easy and convenient for a big purple man like Thanos to swoop in and snap on all the haters. And this is an example of showing us one of the main reasons that this gimmick of interconnected stories worked well with the first three phases, because the MCU was developed with more intention in the writing of coherency between the movies and in the movie itself, so that the world was unified, fitting together very nicely like a bunch of puzzle pieces.
Oh, by the way, this is a friend of mine, Tree.
I am Groot!
But after Phase 3, Disney Marvel's plan to continue this rich tradition was to shoot themselves in the foot, and then to remedy that wound, they decide to drink bleach. Because they added more and more elements that were more difficult to build coherent stories with, like a multiverse, and then decide to forget about all the good writing practices they had before to apply less effort and skill to make the narratives line up.
Oh, you stink!
Which is somehow where we are left with stories that introduce multiple different dimensions. Oh, but on top of that, there's also different realities. Oh, but on top of that, there's also different realms. But on top of that, there's also different timelines. Oh, and on top of all of that, there's different universes that are all basically trying to tell the same multiverse story, but they're doing so all at the same time, all using different rules without creatives really working with one another to see what lines up, which is how you get Loki and No Way Home and Doctor Strange Mom all coming out at the same time and all telling multiverse stories, but not communicating with the other projects to line their stories up, so the stories just end up flat out conflicting with one another. Or you have the multiverse threat of Wanda and Doctor Strange Mom, but don't even have the writers and directors watch WandaVision.
Just let us die, please. I will.
And all of this MCU slop then puts Deadpool and Wolverine in a rather odd predicament, because trying to craft a story that aligns with what has been previously established in the story's world is a proper practice. But should Deadpool and Wolverine try to line up with all of the conflicting, convoluted rules established by all the other poopy, farty MCU projects, or keep up with the modern Marvel trend of just make it up as you go along? Do they try and fit inside the nonsensical parameters of the TVA from Loki, which apparently is headquartered in a place outside of time that doesn't obey the rules of time, yet has events that happen in a linear fashion and has lunch breaks that last 17 minutes? Minutes. What do minutes measure exactly? Or how about that it looks like Deadpool and Wolverine may have some scenes set at the end of time, which is a place from Loki Season 1 where a fart monster comes and eats you? Or does Deadpool and Wolverine just say screw it and play fast and loose with the previously established MCU lore that will inevitably contradict the rest of the MCU's multiverse saga? But this route is the lesser of two evils, as it will very likely lead to Deadpool and Wolverine having a stronger, tighter, coherent insular story. My vote would be for the latter, to forget the rest of the sloppy MCU, that even though the TVA is present, to push aside the setup of the inferior story and just focus on making the best Deadpool movie possible.
Thanks for watching
DUCKFINDER
on YouTube. For more premium content, subscribe.
just like the